FAB-Racing.
Eddie O'Shea, who's going to line up on the pole position for this one, and with Jamie King, who's going to be looking to repeat that wet weather victory.
Yeah, he will indeed. Jamie was very strong indeed at Lyd in the wet, so I'm sure his eyes will be on the prize of picking up victory. So Eddie O'Shea, however, lining up in pole. Charlie Nesbitt in second with Harrison Crosby in third. Then we've got Ryan Hitchcock in fourth. Rossi Banham in fourth, Harrison Crosby in fifth, Taylor Lawrence in sixth. Then we've got Bernie Hook seventh, Jamie King eighth, so he's got a lot of work to do. Chris Wells ninth with Callum Wybrow 10th, Darren Anderson in 11th with Thomas Boone in 12th, James Cook in 13th with Mark Evans 14th, Will Birkin in 15th with Adam Sweeney 16th, Marco Pandolfo in 17th, Kevin Gritton 18th, Nathan Riggy in 19th, and Jack Andrews in 20th position.
Yep, and it's going to be all about that battle at the front, but wet weather conditions could throw a spanner in the works here with Eddie O'Shea on pole position. He's also on pole position for the Extreme 200, so a really good showing from Eddie O'Shea so far this weekend, really putting the hammer down in qualifying in the dry, but in the wet it's going to be a completely different story for these Pitbike 140 riders. Jamie King, last year's champion in the Pitbike 140s, a bit of a wet weather specialist as we saw at Lyd, so watch out for him as well. There's your front row then, Eddie O'Shea and Rhys Stevenson lining up on that front row. Eddie O'Shea, we know, is a name we know very well, has been around all season, and also in the British Talent Cup. You can see the British Talent Cup leathers on that front row of the grid. Number 23, Rhys Stevenson, is a name we're not too familiar with, but clearly quite quick around this Whilton Mill circuit on these pit bikes. So a packed grid, as you can see there. Marco Pandolfo in the middle of the grid, trying to figure out where his grid slot is at the moment. Marco Pandolfo was a rider we saw yesterday, Gareth, seemed to have walked more laps of Whilton Mill than he's actually ridden around it. Seemed to be walking back to the pit lane always with some sort of technical problem.
Yeah, unfortunately for Marco, we coined him Walco Pandolfo due to the fact that he was unfortunately suffering bike issues. But you can see that's Charlie Nesbitt just rolling back into position. He'll be starting from third on the grid, but watch out for him. We know he's very, very strong indeed. And these bikes, a lot more power, a little bit more grip than the we saw from the AC40 pros and rookies. So they might be able to just throw it into these corners. And the likes of Charlie, we've seen him sliding in the dry. What's he going to be like in these wet conditions?
Well, I'm sure we can see some sliding around, especially if he's sliding it around in the dry. Expect to see a little bit of rear end movement in the wet as well, but hopefully not too much for the number 86 as we just make sure everyone's lined up in the right spot here on the grid. This is FAB-Racing, the Minibike British Championships. Been host to the Minibike British Championships for a very long time. Since 2004 we've had exciting action here at FAB-Racing, but the tension is building now on the grid as riders are making sure they're in the right grid slots still, but their attention will soon be going to the lights and to this race one for the Pitbike 140 Championships. The eyes now are on the lights then as we wait for the lights to come on, and they are on, and soon we will be away, and we are away here for race one for the Pitbike 140. It's a good start from Charlie Nesbitt, dropping a leg into turn one, dropping a leg into turn two as well, trying to feel where the conditions are, making sure he's staying on, but a brilliant start from him. Eddie O'Shea dropping through the order, and you can see already the number 76 of Jamie King getting really keen to make his way up through the order. He was looking really menacing on that back straight, and he's all over the back of Eddie O'Shea, and he's now moving up into third position. Looks like he's got a little bit more pace than the riders around him, where they're all through Christmas curve safely in this race. So perhaps, like you say, a little bit more grip on these bigger pit bikes. They'll be running, most of them will be running pit, and that's Marco Pandolfo down at at turn 6. So the rider who's walked more laps of this track than has ridden it is down, but he's now got his bike restarted and back into this race. Marco Pandolfo crashing out, but now restarting.
Yep.
But it's all about the front as Jamie King now has taken the lead. We said he was good in the wet, and he's proving it here. But what will Charlie Nesbitt be able to do? You'd like to think Charlie Nesbitt is going to have a go at following the number 76 of Jamie King and seeing if he can match that pace. Some moves being made a bit further down as well there. A lot of battles all through this grid. A packed grid for the Pitbike 140s, which are very... being such a full grid, we've seen them lose the moto team category that was in this championship as Charlie Nesbitt makes his way up on Jamie King up at Christmas Curve. And with number 23 there, Rhys Stevenson making his way through as well, and Eddie O'Shea. So action all through at the moment as Jamie King losing positions left, right and centre here. Did a good job to make his way up, but now he's losing positions at every corner.
Yeah, Charlie doing his best to confuse us by wearing a different helmet in both qualifying and in the race. But you see a rider off to the side. It was Rossi Banham off the start. Couldn't get the bike started, pulled off to the side. And unfortunately for Rossi, he's riding hurt this weekend after a big crash last weekend. So for Rossi, it's not been a great start this weekend. Probably not a great week either. But yeah, Jamie King is currently leading this one. Charlie Nesbitt unable to close him down. We saw how strong Jamie is in the wet. Charlie in that new lid, and is maybe not showing as much flamboyance as what we usually see from him, as you see the 5.76 there, and that's off to the side. But yeah, it's a lot of riders. Eddie O'Shea starting to close in on the 74 for third position, and but yeah, it's that's Eddie O'Shea still trying to close in. That's the 23 of Rhys Stevenson. They've got the 86 and the 8 all flashing towards towards the camera and past the camera as they enter turn 6 at Ashby and exit out of a tricky left or tricky right-hander hairpin on using that slightly grippier exit on that concrete.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got the paint down there, which won't be grippy at all. But then when you go out, you've got the concrete that hasn't been painted on. We've seen a lot of riders using that in the dry. Personally, I'd be a bit wary of using that in the wet, but it could be something we see them using. But I would be sticking to the tarmac in this one. It's slippy enough around this Whilton Mill circuit without going all over the paint. But riders doing a brilliant job to stay on the bikes in this one. A lot less crashes than we saw in the mini moto races, all running PMT wets in this one, and doing a good job in this race. Rhys Stevenson there is then, who's leading this one ahead of Charlie Nesbitt. Eddie O'Shea now looking really menacing behind Charlie Nesbitt, trying to get in real close, and as Charlie Nesbitt gets a brilliant drive out of turn 5 and makes a move stick into turn 6. What can he do now? He's in front. Will he be able to pull away, or will Rhys Stevenson be able to keep up with the pace of the number 86? Eddie O'Shea now is going to be thinking he's going to be wanting to try and make a move on Rhys Stevenson to make sure Charlie Nesbitt doesn't get away. Jamie King, the number 76, in 4th spot still, as Eddie O'Shea has a look at the number 23 of Rhys Stevenson. Can't quite make a move stick down into turn 9. We saw a big incident earlier on in the Extreme 200s with a few riders go down there on some spilt oil, but will still be quite slippy in the wet as well. So Charlie Nesbitt then doing a brilliant job out the front of this race. Having a look behind him, he's got a 1.2 second lead over the line, and did a 1 minute 3.5, so quicker than anyone else by quite some margin on that last lap. So finding grip that no one else is able to do. But now Eddie O'Shea is up into second place. Will he be able to close down Charlie Nesbitt? He's dropping a leg down into turn 6, just trying to feel where the grip is around this circuit and seeing if he can reel in Charlie Nesbitt. He looks to be doing a good job of it. Gets a good bit of lean angle around this around those corners there, and looking really confident. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see Eddie O'Shea catching Charlie Nesbitt. But we know how good Charlie Nesbitt is with bike control. We saw him sliding around all day yesterday.
Yeah, we saw Eddie O'Shea, of course, starting on the pole. Charlie's made his way up from third of the grid, leading this one. Reece Stevenson was holding position in second, but will now drop down to third place after losing that position on that last lap to Eddie O'Shea. Eddie is just on the fastest lap, a 101.8, so they are getting quicker. They were doing 105s at the start of this one. We're now up to a 101.8, so the riders getting a little bit more confidence. There's always a tag there between the front and the rear wheel of the 15, and so that was close. We've got another rider down, and it's Marco Pandolfo once again having issues on that bike, so struggling once again is Marco Pandolfo. Yeah,
it just looks like the seat unit on that bike had come off there, and that's Eddie O'Shea as well that's gone down. So Eddie O'Shea looking to try and restart this race. He was in second place, was trying to close down Charlie Nesbitt, had closed down slightly over the line, but now there'll be a big gap between him and Charlie Nesbitt out the front, so that's going to promote Reece Stevenson up into second position and possibly Jamie King onto the podium. So the rider who was really good in the wet at Lid also doing a good job here as well. So Charlie Nesbitt it is that leads ahead of Reece Stevenson, Jamie King, Callum Wybrow in there as well. Mark Evans in sixth place ahead of Jack Andrews, Darren Anderson, Adam Sweeney and Nathan Riggy rounding out your top 10 at the moment. Eddie O'Shea then dropped down to fifth place after crashing out, so he's got some work to do. Will he be able to catch the likes of Callum Wybrow and Jamie King to try and get back onto the podium? It's a bit of a tall order for him, but still 4 laps to go in this race, so plenty of time for Eddie O'Shea to be able to get that done and try and catch the number 76 of Callum Wybrow, who's in fourth place, with Eddie O'Shea, the number 8, in fifth at the moment.
Yep, it's a good race so far for Callum Wybrow. He's currently standing fifth in the PB 140 standings, yet to pick up a win or a podium. So to be up in fifth is showing that he is picking up the results. He's probably just needs to aim a little bit higher, but he's moved up into fourth place as Charlie comes across the line and goes quickest with a 101.4. As you can see on screen, that is the 67 of Callum Wybrow. So the man in fifth place in the championship is you can see ahead of him, can see Eddie O'Shea. So Callum has dropped back down to fifth position after gaining that place on the last lap. Eddie O'Shea now moving back up into fourth. So Callum back down into fifth place, but still on for some decent points. Charlie Nesbitt, race leader, has once again gone purple. He is, of course, on the 86 bike. So the 86 is enjoying himself out there, now stretching that gap out. Started in third and struggled to get to the front, but now he's got to the front. 7.5 seconds he's built.
Yeah, he's been absolutely dominant at the front, and Eddie O'Shea on an absolute charge now, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see the number 8 catching Jamie King and challenging for the podium despite crashing out of this race. He already made his way through on Callum Wybrow, and with 3 laps to go, Eddie O'Shea is putting down a blistering pace that's a good second and a bit quicker than Jamie King at the moment. So you can just see there Charlie Nesbitt coming up to some lap traffic. That's Marco Pandolfo, who's just suffered from 2 crashes in this race, so that's why he's getting lapped there by the number 86 of Charlie Nesbitt. But Charlie really putting out a brilliant pace at the front. 9.7 seconds it was over the line, and that battle for third between King and O'Shea really closing in now. Eddie O'Shea only a second behind Jamie King now, so Eddie O'Shea could bridge that gap to Jamie King and onto the podium. He did a 101.9 on that last lap, with Jamie King on a 104.4, so expect to see Eddie O'Shea catching the number 76 of Jamie King and on this with 2 laps to go in this race, as number 86 there, Charlie Nesbitt, comes round to lap Rossi Banham there, just struggling in the wet weather conditions. Like we said earlier, he's riding injured at the moment, Gareth, after a crash last week in the junior supersport category at Donington Park. So he's just going around with a little bit of pain in this one and just struggling in the wet weather conditions. Charlie Nesbitt looks behind him. He's got a hefty lead, 11.7 seconds. And like we said there, Eddie O'Shea moves up into third place. He's, after that crash, caught down Callum Wybrow, caught down the number 76 of Jamie King, and made his way up into a podium position now, and could possibly even be challenging for second place, because he's quite a bit quicker than Reece Stevenson. So on this final lap, Eddie O'Shea could take second place from Reece Stevenson.
Yep, Charlie Nesbitt, as soon as he got to the front, has controlled this one, but Eddie O'Shea will be trying to close in. He's currently, his last lap time is 2 seconds faster than Reece Stevenson, which means that he will catch him by the end of this lap if he keeps on him. But Charlie Nesbitt has got to the front, led from the front, cut through the traffic, done everything needed. He's going to come across the line, pick up the first win on the weekend here at the PB 140s. Charlie Nesbitt is your race winner here at the first race of their weekend. What a victory from him once again, picking up another win on the season, and he can add that to his ever-growing tally across the line. Eddie O'Shea does get Reece Stevenson on the line by 0.6 of a second. It was going to be close. Eddie O'Shea put in some mega laps in that those last sections of that race, catches Reece Stevenson and demotes him down to third. Jamie King holds on to fourth place. Callum Wybrow is going to be in fifth place, but what a last lap there from Eddie O'Shea. 2 seconds down, he manages to claw it back and take second place.
Yeah, he showed some tremendous pace to be able to claw that back in. And of course, both Charlie Nesbitt and Eddie O'Shea will be back out later on in the Extreme 200s. So they'll have had some experience now in the wet weather conditions, and they'll have the upper hand over their rivals later on in the Extreme 200s. And Charlie Nesbitt looking really comfortable in these wet weather conditions. And so is Eddie O'Shea, who's really put the hammer down. Really unfortunate that he crashed out, because it would have been good to see a battle between Eddie O'Shea and Charlie Nesbitt, but Eddie O'Shea still picking up a brilliant second place despite that crash. But yeah, like we say, these riders now, Charlie Nesbitt and Eddie O'Shea, have had some experience now that they can take into the Extreme 200 race later on.
And there is your top 10. Charlie Nesbitt takes the victory by 13 seconds over Eddie O'Shea, who managed to really in and past Reece Stevenson on that final lap. Jamie King in fourth place with Callum Wybrow in fifth. Darren Anderson finishing in sixth, holding off Mark Evans in seventh place. Taylor Lawrence coming home in eighth, with Thomas Boone in ninth. Harrison Crosby rounding out your top 10 in the 93, as Harrison dropping a little bit of points here in this one. He probably would have hoped for a slightly better result, but tricky conditions out there. But one man that wasn't hindered by them is the man leading the championship. That's Charlie Nesbitt. Watch out, there's the 8 of Eddie O'Shea in the British Talent Cup leathers. He will be out on circuit starting on the pole position. So Eddie O'Shea in the 8 will be on your pole, with Reece Stevenson in second position, just edged out there by Eddie O'Shea in the late stages of the qualifying session. Charlie Nesbitt back in third position, with Rossi Banham riding hurt this weekend, so watch out for Rossi. Didn't have a great race one, unfortunately a bike issue cost him. Harrison Crosby in fifth position, with Taylor Lawrence back in sixth. Bernie Hook in 7th with Jamie King in 8th. Chris Wells in 9th with Callum Wybrow in 10th. Darren Anderson in 11th with Thomas Boone in 12th. James Cook in 13th with Mark Evans in 14th. William Birkin in 15th with Adam Sweeney 16th. Marco Pandolfo back in 17th with Kevin Gritton 18th. Nathan Riggy in 19th with Jack Andrews in 20th position, with Paul Histon 21st. Matt Lindley in 22nd with Ben O'Keefe in 23rd. Paul Coombs 24th. Elliot Crosby 25th. Giorgio Escalata in 26th with Roger Monks and Harrison O'Keefe rounding out row 14. Ida Katz in 29th with Sean Whittaker 30th. Neil Skinner in 31st with Mark Pratley 32nd. Iona Glover in 33rd. That's a quick bike change there for her. And Gary O'Keefe rounding out row 17 in 34th position. And that's a lot of riders on the track.
That is a very packed grid here for the Pitbike 140s, and a lot of names for you to have to go through there. So hopefully your voice is still intact after going through all of those. But yeah, absolutely packed grid, and they're all lining up on the grid. Iona Glover did a racing pit stop to get back out into this race, and she's just coming round to join the grid as well. So all these riders looking to find their grid slots. You can just see there with the brightly coloured Dainese leathers there. That's Marco Pandolfo, who's going to be looking to try and finish this race. He spent more time at the moment walking around Whilton Mill than he has riding around. A few technical gremlins for him to bargain with on Friday and Saturday. So hopefully he'll make it to the end of this one, starting in 17th on the grid. But it's Eddie O'Shea then and Rhys Stevenson on your front row. Rhys Stevenson, a name we haven't seen a lot of in FAB Racing, but proved to be really quick. Second place on the grid and third place yesterday in race 1. There's number 1 through 3, 4 of Iona Glover, who we saw just out in the Mini F1 sidecars. So a quick bike swap for her and back out onto the grid to do battle in the Pitbike 140s. Coming up to join the grid now. But it's all about the riders at the front, the number 888 of Eddie O'Shea and Rhys Stevenson. Charlie Nesbitt has picked up a multiple of wins here in the Pitbike 140s and many second places. He won yesterday, so he's going to be looking to get a good start. Always absolutely lightning fast off the start is Charlie Nesbitt. And Rossi Banham in fourth, who's riding injured this weekend after a crash last weekend in BSB at Donington Park, crashing out of the race 1 for the junior super sport category and picking up an injured hip here this weekend. But you can see him there with the all black leathers and the red bike. That's Rossi Banham. Eddie O'Shea with the British Tank Cup leathers on pole position, and Charlie Nesbitt there just next to Rossi Banham, just having a quick chat with him on the grid at the moment. But all these riders ready to get going, and very soon their attention will be on the lights. Eddie O'Shea quickly realises that he's got to have a look at the lights, and all eyes go to the lights to start this race 2 for the Pitbike 140 Championship. And they're away for race 2, and it's a brilliant start from the guys at the front. Rhys Stevenson with a good start, Rossi Banham with a brilliant start from 4th place on the grid up into the lead. So Rossi Banham leading this race ahead of the number 23 of Rhys Stevenson. Eddie O'Shea's dropped back through the pack. An absolutely packed grid here. You can see the number 1 through 4 of Iona Glover a bit further back, but it's Rhys Stevenson now who's taken the lead ahead of the number 96 of Rossi Banham. And Charlie Nesbitt looked menacing, looked like he was trying to make a move down into turn 6. Did he make it stick? We'll find out very shortly. Also Harrison Crosby a bit further back. No, Charlie Nesbitt still in second place. Eddie O'Shea now moving up into third. So these front guys swapping and changing positions on this opening lap.
What a brilliant start there from both Rossi Banham and Rhys Stevenson, battling over first position into Christmas Corner, holding on to this one. But don't sleep on Charlie Nesbitt. He will be right on it later in this one, and he'll be closing in. We know that he's got the pace, and they go using all of the extra track. You can see Eddie O'Shea there waving him on. Go on, go, 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 go. Let's catch him. And you can see, he's got a bike down into the wall, and he exit the final corner. It was greasy out there, but up on their feet. So we can see that was almost a nasty one, but luckily the rider back up on their feet, and we can continue underway. But yeah, Charlie Nesbitt across the line first in that first lap, and he did a 58, so he's got himself just under a second lead ahead of Rossi Banham. Jamie King has made a good start. He's in third place. Taylor Lawrence in fourth. Callum Wybrow in fifth. Harrison Crosby and Bernie Hook 6th and 7th.
Yeah, I think there's just a few transponder problems for the number 23 of Rhys Stevenson, because he's in the lead of this race, and it's Nesbitt in second, O'Shea in third, and Rossi Banham in fourth. So perhaps some problems over at race control, and that's not coming up on our timing screen or on our tower, but it looks like Charlie Nesbitt's coming into pit lane, so that's a problem for Charlie Nesbitt. He's pulled off into pit lane, and that leaves Jamie King now in fourth spot, looking really menacing right on the back wheel of Rossi Banham, riding injured this weekend. And there's another rider down at the final corner there, really slippy corner. I think that man Charlie Nesbitt is just pointing at something. He's some problems with that Pitbike 140 machine, just signalling something to his team there. Iona Glover with a problem there in the background as well, but it's still Rhys Stevenson leading this race ahead of Eddie O'Shea, Rossi Banham and Jamie King looking really menacing just behind these guys.
I wonder if Charlie was just talking to one of the marshals there and saying there might be something down on the ground at the exit of the final corner, because that's 2 bikes we've seen go down. There's yellow flags out in the third sector. We've had another bike down at the final corner, so clearly something at the final corner is causing these bikes to go down. So it's very tricky at the final corner. We saw in practice that the slightest bit of fluid down the circuit can really hurt a lot of bikes, as Iona Glover's back on the bike and back underway under her own steam. But the race is still a go. We're still flying around, and Eddie O'Shea getting down, getting low, trying to close in on the likes of Rhys Stevenson. But you can see Rossi Banham equally going with this. Is a much better race from Rossi. Yeah,
absolutely. He had a few technical issues yesterday, which meant he was right at the back of the pack. unfortunately suffering on that Pitbike 140 machine, but back up at the front where he belongs in this one. They've closed in Rhys Stevenson now, and it was with Rhys Stevenson leading this race, not coming up on our timing screens at the moment. So it's Rhys Stevenson who is leading this race. It's Eddie O'Shea who's in second, Banham in third, and Jamie King doing a really good job to hold on to these guys in fourth at the moment.
Yeah, great start from the second place man. Rhys Stevenson's got himself up into the lead, and luckily it looks as though no one else is going down at the final corner, so perhaps that chance is good. But you've got Rossi Banham having a look to the inside of Eddie O'Shea, but Eddie himself is going to take a look to the inside for the lead of this one. So now Eddie O'Shea has just taken the lead past Rhys Stevenson, and equally here comes Rossi Banham to the inside of the hairpin. It's going to be tight between the two. There's a little bit of contact between the knee there of the 1, 2, 3 and of Rossi Banham, but Rossi now up into second position. Eddie getting on with it after the loss of Charlie, and this is actually going to be the first time that Charlie's not going to finish on the podium inside the top 2 positions that he's entered a race, because only 2 races he's missed he elected not to start, but all races he started he's finished either first or second.
Yeah, really consistent stuff for Charlie Nesbitt, and that's why he's at the front of this championship, but won't be picking up any points in this one. Rhys Stevenson then dropping down into third place on that lap, and now looking to be in the clutches of the number 76 of Jamie King. So Jamie King looking really menacing up onto the back of your race leader, but now down into third place. So Eddie O'Shea taking the lead of this race on that last lap, ahead of Rossi Banham.
Taylor Lawrence doing a good job in fourth position, holding off Callum Wybrow, Bernie Hook and Chris Wells at the moment. So Taylor Lawrence, who started in 6th place, he was in overnight. He was quite far down the championship, so he'll be looking to pick up some good points. Callum Wybrow, however, was in 5th and will be looking at pushing towards this top 4 position. But there he is on screen, Eddie O'Shea, holding off the likes of Rossi Banham and of Rhys Stevenson, and equally, as you say, Jamie King, who's having a good run out this morning. We saw Jamie King on screen earlier with that signature blue hair, but Eddie O'Shea, this is much better from Eddie. He picked up a second place yesterday as we've got a bike off to the side of the circuit there wheeling away, but rider up okay, and possibly just a little bit of a technical issue within that bike for him, and that's the 14. But you can see there the pressure is still on O'Shea. He's got to hold off Rossi Banham. Rossi looking very strong after that bike issue, cost him the chance of really getting going. But this is first and second, the lead battle, and Eddie O'Shea holding off Rossi Banham. Rossi doing a brilliant job. We know that he's hurt after his full last weekend, so he's doing a stellar job holding on to Eddie O'Shea. Yeah,
absolutely brilliant stuff from Rossi Banham. The adrenaline's kicking in, and he's not feeling the pain at the moment, although he will feel it when he gets off that Pitbike 140 machine. But he's all over the back of O'Shea now, so it's between these two. Eddie O'Shea, British Talent Cup rider, third place in the MKGP 70s last year as well. Rossi Banham, junior supersport rider over in the BSB paddock, and doing really well, really coming to his own in that class as well, and pushing towards the front of that one. So a good season so far for Banham, despite his crash at Donington, so showing some really good pace and really good potential as he looks to try and make a move, and he does. He makes it stick down into turn 6. So that's Rossi Banham now into this race. A brilliantly planned and timed move there from Rossi Banham. He set it up really well coming out of turn 5, and really strong on the brakes into 6, and looking really confident as he comes through the little chicane there down into turn 9 once again through the boot, and he's got a little bit of breathing space now. So can Rossi Banham break away from the number 8 of Eddie O'Shea? And
we saw yesterday with Eddie O'Shea dropped out of the lead with Charlie Nesbitt, but then in the final few laps Eddie just put the power down and really closed in. So maybe Eddie's just taking a few laps to just collect himself, and he can make a challenge on Rossi Banham. But Rossi, brilliant move to get himself up from 4th from the grid into the lead of this one. Of course, no Charlie Nesbitt after retiring earlier on in the session. He's starting to make his way around the back markers. You can see the Pitbike 140s. Of course, we've got over 30 bikes on circuit, so it's going to get busy, it's going to get messy, and this is where race leaders, second place runners, this is where you start to make up or lose time, when you start to encounter lap traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen it's a bit of a running theme in the Pitbike 140s with such a packed grid. They do tend to run into a few back markers, and it has decided some races. But with such a commanding lead now that Banham has over O'Shea, it's going to take something big to happen for O'Shea to be able to get onto the rear wheel of Rossi Banham. Rhys Stevenson now has broken away from the number 76 of Jamie King, so he's looking in a lonely third position in this race after leading earlier on. Jamie King picked up a win earlier on in the season at Lydd, and also 2019 champion in the PB 140 class, so he's no slouch at all, but looking to try and catch up back up to Rhys Stevenson for a podium. But it's this man at the front, Rossi Banham, absolutely flying, and with a 1.7 second last time around over Eddie O'Shea, and putting a pace down that no one can match. The only rider in the 54s, a 54.4 was his time, 54.2 by Eddie O'Shea earlier on in the race, but not quite able to put that pace down at the moment.
No, and we can see the track is getting much more favourable to fast running. You can see the drawing line on the racing line that a lot of these riders will be using. We're now down into the 55s, the 54s for Rossi Banham and Eddie O'Shea. So it's starting to get quicker, and that's going to allow them to push even harder as Rossi comes up to some lap traffic. That's the 142. He's going to try and get to the inside, and when we come into the hairpin, he's going to get caught just in between the two-lap track. Has a look over his shoulder. Could you not have let me pass there? But you can see Rossi back on it, goes to the inside as he comes into turn 8 at Oziers, and he's now putting himself a handful of bikes between himself and Eddie, so this is perfect here for Rossi Banham.
Yeah, and carving through the traffic beautifully is Rossi Banham, just absolutely making light work of the lapped traffic here at Whilton Mill, riding with an injury as he goes on to start the final lap of the race here at Whilton Mill. 1 lap to go for Rossi Banham before he can take this victory, although I think he's celebrating a bit early. I think he thinks he's won that one, but there's one more lap to go in this race for Rossi Banham, or is he just having a bit of fun looking back at O'Shea and just almost taunting him? So yeah, he's just teasing Eddie O'Shea behind him. He's got a nice hefty lead, and he knows he's going to pick up this win.
Well, let's wait until the final corner. We've seen bikes go down all through this race at the final corners, so Rossi Banham's got 3 corners to navigate to pick up a win, and starting from 4th, he's got to get around some lap traffic there, just about managed to sweep up the outside into the second to final corner, and Rossi Banham has a look to the outside. He was celebrating up the hill as he went into turn 3. He can celebrate even more now as they take the checkered flag, as he sits up on the bike, legs stretched out. Eddie O'Shea will come across the line in 2nd place, and behind Rhys Stevenson picking up a podium once again as he makes his introduction. You can see Rossi has some nice core strength there from him.
Yeah, really enjoying the fact that he's won this race. So that'll be excellent for his confidence after that crash last weekend at Donington Park. Looking really confident and really good on the bike. We saw him through turn 8 into the little kink after it. Was really confident through that sector and really muscling the bike around in these conditions. So absolutely brilliant stuff from Rossi Banham, and a nice wheelie there, brilliant wheelie on this on a little Pitbike 140, brilliantly done there from Rossi Banham. But Eddie O'Shea then 2nd place. Rhys Stevenson, who we saw yesterday pick up a podium, picks up another one today. 2019 champion Jamie King in 4th, so a brilliant top 4 and a brilliant race from the number 196.
And there's your top 3 on screen right there. The man in the white helmet, that's Rossi Banham, with Eddie O'Shea in the British Talent Cup leathers in front, and behind Rhys Stevenson, who picked up a 2nd, 3rd place finish. And there you go. The results are confirmed. Rossi Banham picks up the victory ahead of Eddie O'Shea. Rhys Stevenson rounds out the podium of Jamie King, last season's champion, in 4th place, with Taylor Lawrence ahead of Chris Wells in 5th and 6th position. Callum Wybrow came home in 7th, with Mark Evans in 8th, and Bernie Hook in 9th, and Adam Sweeney rounding out the top 10. Good result there from Adam Sweeney, moving up from 16th on the grid all the way up into the top 10.
Yeah, Marco Pandolfo just coming down, giving them all the little riders on the fence a high five as they come down pit lane here at Whilton Mill. Something you see every year. Even 8 years ago when I was in the championship, all the riders would sit on the fence and give high fives to all the riders coming down the pit lane there. So you can see every rider that comes in gives a little high five. And there was a time actually when I came down the pit lane and I gave someone a high five and I almost fell off coming down the thing. So skills for them to be able to go down one-handed.
I was going to say, well, and you're a super stock 600 rider, you can't ride one-handed.
Well, I wasn't then.
It will be Eddie O'Shea lining up alongside Rhys Stevenson on the front. You can see Eddie's had a lot of fun this weekend, especially when he's been on the grid, providing a lot of entertainment. We spoke to him on Friday, and the British Talent Cup rider has enjoyed himself. A fantastic race in the Extreme 200s before we went for the break, and it looks as though we've got the majority of the bikes filtered into the right position. You can see Rhys Stevenson just looking forward, eyes forward. Eddie O'Shea has definitely not really got his eyes forward at the moment. He's distracted by everything else going around him, but Rhys just focused on trying to get a good run down towards oblivion at turn 1, and then behind Charlie Nesbitt and Rossi Banham. Rossi Banham had a great race earlier on. Yeah,
he came charging through from 4th place to take the win earlier on. Riding injured this weekend is the number 96. That's 3 BSB names in the top 4. O'Shea in the British Talent Cup, Charlie Nesbitt in GP2, and Rossi Banham in the British Junior Supersport Championship as well. Eddie O'Shea just giving the fans a wave there and looking excited ahead of this Pitbike 140 race. But Rhys Stevenson will be looking to pick up another podium in this one. He lines up in 2nd place on the grid as we wait to get this Pitbike 140 race underway. It's round 4 here at Whilton Mill, the halfway point of the season for the Pitbike 140s, and we've seen some incredibly exciting racing in this class. James Cook, the number 44, we've heard word that has just joined the back of this grid, but all eyes to the lights now as we go to start the final race of the weekend for the Pitbike 140s. Who's it going to be? Who's going to take the whole shot? Charlie Nesbitt with a good start yet again, slots in ahead of Eddie O'Shea, but it's Rhys Stevenson who takes the whole shot. Number 86 looking really menacing on the back of the number 23 now as they go into Christmas corner for the first time of asking. Moves being made all through the field here, but it's the number 23 of Rhys Stevenson who leads this race. Eddie O'Shea's now slotted himself into 2nd place ahead of Charlie Nesbitt. You can just see Bernie Hook a bit further back there on the number 0 bike. We saw him earlier on in the senior mini motos and expect to see him again later on in the senior mini motos as well.
Yeah, very much so, and brilliant start there. Eddie O'Shea on forward. He has a lot of fun here in the Pitbike 140s, and but we saw Rhys Stevenson looking very focused on the line, and he did exactly what he needed to do, and that's get up ahead of Eddie O'Shea. Charlie Nesbitt has gone with them, and so it's a lead away 3 as they come across the line for the first time. Off the line, Taylor Lawrence had a slow start. It just lifted the front tyre, and that cost him a little bit of grip. Jamie King managed to get up the inside of him into oblivion, so Jamie King now up into 5th position. But there you go, there is your leading trio. It's Rhys Stevenson, Eddie O'Shea, Charlie Nesbitt starting to look very racy. Behind Eddie O'Shea's have the inside line into turn 6. Will he go for the move? He does. Sweep down the inside of Eddie O'Shea. Has a quick glance back to find out where he is. Come with me, Eddie, let's go and get him, as Charlie says, as they get onto the power on the exit of turn 7 and into Osiers at turn 8. So now Charlie Nesbitt is going to go on the hunt, which is always a good fun watch.
Yeah, you'd have to think Charlie Nesbitt's going to give it absolutely everything he can to catch up to that to the race leader of Rhys Stevenson. He's going to be trying to bring Eddie O'Shea with him. These two have pretty much been locked together all weekend long. In Friday practice, they were cut above the rest, but Rhys Stevenson doing a brilliant job out front, also setting the fastest lap on that last lap. So it's going to be a tall order for these guys to catch the number 23 machine. Rossi Banham also there in 4th place, race 1 winner, just on the back of these guys. You can just see him in the background, riding injured this weekend.
Yeah, Charlie Nesbitt, who retired from the first race. It was the first time that he's entered a race and not finished inside the top 2. So he will be looking at adding to the win column and extending this championship lead with Jamie King in second position. Eddie O'Shea has jumped above Brad Ray into third place in the championship. Behind, as you can see, as with the Pitbike 140s, as usual, is action everywhere. You cannot look without seeing battles going on between several different riders. So that's the 17 of Adam Sweeney, who started in 16th position in race 2 and made his way all the way up to 10th. Marco Pandolfo has made his way up to 14th. So Marco taking the advice of Trystan this weekend and start putting the power down instead of walking as much. But yeah, Marco doing a good job up in 14th. But across the line, Charlie Nesbitt goes purple with 53.478, so takes 0.2 of a second out of Rhys Stevenson. But Rhys with almost a second's lead, so really on it in these early stages of this one.
Yeah, absolutely flying out the front. 0.9 of a second was the lead over the last lap. Charlie Nesbitt putting the hammer down now, setting the fastest lap of the race on that last one. 53.478 for Nesbitt and a 54.472 for O'Shea. So second quicker than O'Shea on that last lap. So he's pulling away from the number 8 and trying to catch up to the number 23 of Rhys Stevenson. Looking back again at Pandolfo on the number 21 machine with those bright red Dainese leathers there. Also Max Cook in there making a move on the number 17 of Adam Sweeney. So Max Cook, who started from the back of the grid, making his way up through this one as well. But it's all about these two at the front. James Cook, rather, who was making his way up through the grid. But it's the number 86 now that's taken the lead away from Rhys Stevenson. So Charlie Nesbitt set the fastest lap on that last lap and now is right in to the lead of this race. Rhys Stevenson, after leading all race long, is now just in behind Charlie Nesbitt. 8 laps to go in this race as we look at the leaders. The number 86 there with the black leathers heading into the final corner. Rhys Stevenson, what can he do? Can he go with the number 86 of Charlie Nesbitt?
Yeah, brilliant move there from Charlie Nesbitt up the inside of Rhys Stevenson. A little bit of contact knee to knee between the pair as he has a quick look back to see where his friend Eddie O'Shea is, and Eddie's closing in on Rhys Stevenson for second position. Behind, Rossi Banham is trying to get involved in this lead battle, and he's just about a second back off of it. Eddie O'Shea did the fastest lap of the race with a 52.992, so the first rider to dip into the 52s that last time around, and he's starting to put the pressure on Stevenson for second position. Charlie Nesbitt, who's using, well, now it's dry, all the curbs to minimise the track length, and doing exactly what we saw in Lydd. And here comes Eddie O'Shea. Does he think about a move into turn 9? Not quite close enough, but Rhys Stevenson holds on to position. Eddie O'Shea's going to get a good launch out of the second to last corner. Will he get a run? Charlie using a lot of that exit curb down towards oblivion at turn 1. Rhys Stevenson just holding on to second, but Eddie O'Shea, you've got to think, is going to have a move shaped up into Christmas corner. Here he comes into turn 3. Foot down for Eddie O'Shea, but he's got the balance. Does he hold on to the position? He does. Eddie O'Shea up into second position. Great move there from the British Talent Cup rider.
Yeah, brilliant move there from Eddie O'Shea up into Christmas corner. Set it up really well. Got a good drive out of turn 2. Was tucked in all the way down that back straight. Got a good slipstream and just managed to get under the number 23 of Rhys Stevenson on the brakes. So a very well timed and a very well planned move there from the number 8 of Eddie O'Shea. Rossi Bannon then, what can he do? Currently down in 4th place. Will he be able to catch the riders in front of him? Like we said, riding injured this weekend, but still putting down a blistering pace. You can see him there. He was just in the back of that shot. Looking further back at William Birkin, brother to Matt and Josh Birkin, who we saw earlier on in the senior mini motos. He's battling away in this race as well. Yeah,
we'll see the Matt and Josh in the senior mini motos in a couple of races time as they make their way up for their third and final race of the weekend. But yeah, the battle is going on between himself and William Birkin. And yeah, you can see the 6 there and the 555 as they make their way into the boot at turn 10 on the exit of the penultimate corner. But across the line does come Charlie Nesbitt with 5 laps left to go. He's got half a second's gap between himself and Eddie O'Shea. Eddie O'Shea getting faster and faster. He's just done a 52.549. Great lap there from O'Shea.
Yeah, Eddie O'Shea's right on the back of him now as well, as you see them coming down the home straight. So Eddie O'Shea has caught the race leader of Charlie Nesbitt, and equally Rossi Banham has caught up to the third place man Rhys Stevenson at the moment. So the number 23 looking under trouble, looking like in trouble from the number 96 of Rossi Banham at the moment. But it's Charlie Nesbitt clinging on to this lead at the moment as we look back to the leaders. And it's Eddie O'Shea who's taken the lead away from Charlie Nesbitt. We missed that one, but that is Eddie O'Shea now into the lead. Charlie Nesbitt is going to be looking to snap straight back at the number 8 rider, both on very similarly liveried machines there. Charlie Nesbitt trying to grab him and pull him back, but couldn't quite make that work. Down the back straight into turn 9, through the boot then as they head down into this very fast final corner, using all the exit on them, all the exit, literally every single metre of it, as they go down into turn 1, through turn 2, onto the back straight. He's trying to grab him and pull him back, can't quite reach, needs some longer arms there, Spud.
Yeah, what a race. These two are always good fun to watch, and yeah, Charlie, you know that he likes a fight, and Eddie O'Shea, as Charlie now takes the inside line, backs in, and around he goes, and unfortunately that is not what a bike is able to do, and he faces the tyre barrier, and unfortunately for Charlie there, just tried to back it in too much, and the bike was not having any of it.
Yeah, perhaps a little bit too confident going down into turn 6, tried to make a move on Eddie O'Shea while sideways, didn't quite work, had a big moment and went off into the grass. So that leaves your race leader with a nice bit of breathing space now over Rhys Stevenson, who'll be promoted up into second place, and Rossi Banham now promoted up onto the podium. Charlie Nesbitt will be looking to rejoin in the race, and we'll see in what position he rejoins very shortly. But it's your race leader Eddie O'Shea looking nice and comfortable out the front with a 3.2 second lead over Rhys Stevenson.
Yeah, Eddie O'Shea looking odds on for this race victory. Rhys Stevenson, I'm sure, will be happy picking up another podium. Rossi Banham, who is within a tenth and a half of Rhys Stevenson, so the fight for the second place finish will go down to the wire as Eddie comes around to start his final lap here. The final race of the weekend for the Pitbike 140s from round 4 at Whilton Mill with FAB-Racing, their Minibike British Championship. And you can see Eddie O'Shea comes around the final corner as he's got one more tour around his circuit. He will take the final lap flag, and he'll know just 11 more corners, and he'll be picking up 25 points in this championship, and starting to push up towards Jamie King, who Jamie King's in 5th position at the moment, but Eddie O'Shea will be looking at closing down that gap and taking second in the championship. You can see on screen there the 59, and that is one of the battles further down through the field. And but it is Eddie O'Shea that is on screen now, and your race leader, as he comes up to a little bit of lap traffic, he's got to navigate as they go around those ears at turn 8, and he just about hugs that inside line and holds on to it. Just 3 more corners to go for Eddie O'Shea. Ducks down as he comes towards the final 2 corners. What a race we've had here in the Pitbike 140s. So much fun, entertainment, leg out, what flair from him. Eddie having a lot of fun up there, coming across the line. Eddie O'Shea is your winner in the Pitbike 140, and what a race from the young man. Always a laugh to watch these guys out there having fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rossi Banham it was that got the better of Rhys Stevenson in the end, then moving up into second place. So he won earlier on with his injury, and now second place. So a brilliant ride there from Rossi Banham as well. Rhys Stevenson picking up another podium. Charlie Nesbitt, despite that big moment, came across the line in 4th. So really impressive from the number 86. They're just exchanging a few words there. Charlie will be telling him all about the big moment he had and how he still managed to finish in 4th place.
Yeah, Eddie looking back and asking Charlie, where did you go? You were right next to me. But Charlie recovering to 4th position after that, just about only a second back off Rhys Stevenson, so he was on a charge in those last few laps. We're not able to get onto the podium, but it's that man, Eddie O'Shea, that will stand upon the top step of it as your race winner. Rossi Banham, brilliant race once again, jumping up from 4th on the grid to 2nd. Rhys Stevenson, in his debut weekend here in 2020, comes home in 3rd place. And there is your top 10 as Eddie O'Shea takes home the third and final race win of the weekend in the Pitbike 140s. Rossi Banham in second with Reece Stevenson in third. Charlie Nesbitt in fourth with Jamie King in fifth. Taylor Lawrence in sixth with Chris Wells seventh. Darren Anderson eighth and Mark Evans in ninth. And rounding out the top 10 was Callum Wybrow.
So drama towards the end of that race then, as Charlie Nesbitt was just a little bit too confident going down into turn 6. Got sideways and sideways nearly spat him off, and he ended up in the grass, unable to put a race to Eddie O'Shea, but still finishing in 4th place in that race. So brilliant stuff. Reece Stevenson, a new name, picking up another podium. So brilliant to see new names coming in and picking up the points. But